Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another edition of Swiss Army Sports. It is episode 39. Today is January 28th in the big 2026. Snow's still a factor here in Memphis, so I am here at the desk by myself, your host, Will Spain, former longstopper for the Troy Trojans, Ospey Governors, and partially Houston Cougars. Joined just down the street virtually, former offensive lineman for the Hendrix College Warriors, current man of electricity, Luke Wallman, and then joining us from Houston, Texas, former kicker for the Houston Christian Huskies and Troy Trojans, current nephew of Troy's men's basketball coach, Scott Cross. Chase Cross. Boys, let's get into the agenda for today. Well, I guess we have the Pro Bowl, which is whatever that is these days, especially with certain quarterbacks getting into it. They play a series of, challenges and then a flag football game. So that's just really the epitome of football right there. Our college basketball picks of the week for Thursday through the Sunday window. Mid-major games to watch. Our first college bracketology section on the podcast, although we have been posting it on Twitter if you're following along. NBA recap from the past few days since we last recorded, as well as an NHL recap in that same time period. Power rankings for both those leagues. Like I said, we'll be doing power rankings on every episode now, just keep in touch with the leagues. WWE making its appearance on Swiss Army Sports. We got our Royal Rumble picks and preview. Big pay-per-view for the wrestling fans in Saudi Arabia come Saturday, along with another TKO event, UFC 325 picks and preview. The Farmers Insurance Open picks and preview for the PGA, EPL picks and preview, and who's hot and who's not. Also, I was going to include NASCAR's Clash at Bowman Gray Stadium in North Carolina on this. However, it is projected to snow. Don't know if they're going to move it to Daytona. Don't know what they're going to do. They're kind of in limbo on that. So sorry, NASCAR. I know we just applied for media credentials with you. I promise you we're not leaving you out, just in case you are somewhat testing our product. We just don't know what you're going to do right now. Is really the only problem. So let's talk about the Pro Bowl, guys. I guess what I wanted to mention, was the rosters. Allen, Herbert, May. May, obviously, in the championship game is a reserve. So Shadur Sanders gets the nod at quarterback for the AFC as the third quarterback. Jonathan Taylor, Jamar Chase, Nico Collins also rounded out some key position players for the AFC. Brock Bowers as well. Also let's do a specialist shout out actually. Ross Matishik for the Jacksonville Jaguars, the long snapper, Jordan Stout, the punter, and Dicker, the kicker, the place kicker. And then obviously if you are in a return fantasy league, you know who the return specialist is for the AFC. Shamira DK from the Tennessee Titans was an absolute fantasy football legend. On the NFC side, Matthew Stafford, Dak Prescott, of course, the legend Dak Prescott in the Pro Bowl. Jahmyr Gibbs, George Pickens, Puka Nacua, Amon-Ra St. Brown, and then for the specialists there, John Weeks, San Francisco long snapper, Tress White, Washington punter, and of course, who else would be the kicker for the NFC other than Brandon Aubrey? We all picked the NFC. I'm not 100% sure what we're picking here when I made this. I guess it's an overall point system with the different games in the flag football game. Yeah, I'm just an NFC guy, so I'm picking the NFC. Luke, what do you take away from this Pro Bowl format in general? And then why is the NFC going to win this charade?
All with the NFC just because of Dak Prescott, our guy. But I have no idea. I have not paid attention to the Pro Bowl in years. They've really moved away from like a game where you could just see all the best players playing against each other to more of a little fair. And I just have no interest in it. So I'm going with the NFC just because of the Cowboys.
Chaser.
Well, I am a Shadur Sanders guy at heart, but come on. That's not a Pro Bowl quarterback at all in any shadow realm of the imagination. Like this, I saw that and I'm like, they're just making us look unserious at this point. So, I mean, I'm not going to support the AFC here. I don't even really know what we're picking. I mean, it's a bunch of games and a flag football game. So, there is no prior metrics to really guess off this one. But, got to go with Dak Prescott. Brandon Aubrey is going to be fun to watch. They always have those
George Pickens,
challenges.
absolutely.
So,
yeah.
I'm going to enjoy watching our Cowboys, get out there and compete. But, man, they've ruined this Pro Bowl All-Star game. I mean, it's ridiculous, but
The odds I turn this on are like plus 1,000. I'm not gonna lie, for more than 30 seconds. I mean, like I may accidentally flip onto it at some point, but just the odds are extremely low that I'm going to be watching this charade. Let's talk about some real sports now, and we are way more uniform on this than I thought we would be. Obviously, if you had paid attention to the graphics, boys, as if we were making it, you notice I changed a pick just because I hated how uniform we were with it. Let's kick it off on the West Coast, guys. ESPNU, 10 p.m. tip. If you're like me and Luke and you don't have work the next day, this is prime time gambling hoops. Hawaii tied for first place with UC Irvine in Irvine, California. 10 p.m. tip on Thursday. Big West matchup. Everybody's on your Irvine except Luke. Me, Chase, and the producer all with the Anteaters. Luke with the Rainbow Warriors. One, only reason I really picked UC Irvine, one, I do think they're a little bit bigger on the inside, but two, the travel for Hawaii is going to be tough, obviously, coming onto the mainland. UC Irvine getting that home court advantage. Do I think Hawaii could win this game? Absolutely. They score better than UC Irvine does. However, I just think you're going to get a little bit of jet lag. UC Irvine going to be able to use their size down low and get a win for the Anteaters. Chase, you agree with me? Let's talk about UC Irvine.
I agree. I actually picked against them last week. Big mistake. Got to watch a little bit of them play, and they are dominant down low. And then with the added travel of Hawaii coming across, the Pacific there, I do think that plays a factor, at least. Hawaii has a strong home court advantage, but when they go other places, they tend to struggle. So UC Irvine, I got in this one. I think this one should be pretty convincing.
Luke, you say not so fast. You're riding with the Rainbow Warriors. You got to tell me why Hawaii is your pick for this game.
Yeah, so I'm rolling with Hawaii strictly based off of defense. Hawaii's got I'm looking at Ken Palm. Hawaii's got the 24th best adjusted efficiency of defense in the country, which I would go as far as probably one of the, if not the top mid-major defense in the country. And if you look at UC Irvine's efficiencies on offense, they are absolutely abysmal. They're 297th in the country in 2-point percentage and 215th. I think this is going to be a pretty low scoring game. Hawaii's offense is just a little less abysmal. So that's why I'm going with Hawaii.
Moving over to Maction on a Friday evening, 5 p.m. Central tip on the CBS Sports Network. The Kent State Golden Flashes, 7-2 in the MAC, head to Akron, Ohio, and face the 8-1 in the MAC Akron Zips. We're all of us riding with the Zips here. And really my reason why is I think Akron's got a dude in Tavari Johnson. He averages 20 points a game, 5.6 assists. This is an Akron team that scores 92.6 points per game and only allows 75.5, 6 points better than Kent State and 3 points better on the offensive side. It's in Akron. I think Akron's ability to score and just the home field court advantage will overwhelm Kent State. I actually think this will be a 6-7 plus, no pun intended, plus point win for the Zips. I do think they are a sizable margin better than Kent State, even though the records say they are pretty close. Luke, I'll let you go next, then Chase. Why Akron?
Akron's offense, outside of Miami, Ohio, they have the best offense in the country, or I'm sorry, in the MAC. And if you look at like a bunch of these mid-major teams, you don't have, for the most part, mid-major teams that win against power teams or in their conference unless they can score. And Akron can score on an elite level. They shoot the three ball very well, and they're at home. And they're the highest rated MAC team on Ken Palm, which I think is kind of funny. So there's that.
Chaser, why are you going with the Zips?
Well, I think this Akron team has actually been low-key the best team in the MAC. Obviously, Miami, Ohio is stealing a lot of the headlines because they're undefeated start, but this Akron team is easily as good, if not better. Kent State is also a very good basketball team, but going on the road to Akron with an offense that can score like that, we've seen it through all these mid-major conferences. We say it every week, but it is hard to travel amongst these mid-major teams. And then the other thing on top of that is when you have a good high-power offense, they tend to shoot the ball a lot better at home. And, Akron is going to have that home court advantage. They'll be able to shoot it well in their gym that they practice in every single day. So I think that their offense is going to be on high production. And Kent State, their defense is not elite enough to stop this, so I do think Akron's going to have a good day on offense, and that will lead them to a win over Kent State.
Well, we pivot to a power conference after that, still in the Midwest, in the Big Ten primetime Friday night on Fox, 7 p.m. Central tip. The Michigan cheaters in the Wolverines, cheating in multiple ways in that institution, both on and off the field. That's the football program, though. We're talking about their dominant basketball program here. They're heading to their rivals in East Lansing, Sparty, Michigan State. They have found themselves on the betting ban list for quite a few people this year. Luke, the producer, and Chase are all riding with the Wolverines. I'm rolling with Sparty. Luke, I'm going to let you kick it off. This is your team. Why is Michigan, the Big Blue, getting it done on the road?
Really hope. See, this is a toss-up. I might bet they're on my ban list, like you said. So I might bet on Michigan State so that Michigan will win because I am 0-5 on betting the Spartans this year against inferior opponents. But I think the real key to this game is going to be size inside. If Michigan is able to get their bigs going, like Morez Johnson and Yara and even Yaxel Lenenborg, and are able just to hit a few outside shots, I think they've got a great chance to win this game. And also, they're coming off a great win versus Nebraska. Granted, Nebraska had a dude with the flu and a dude who was out, so they were missing people. But this is still a great Nebraska team. I was still hesitant if we were going to win, even with those people out. And Michigan State struggled. They had 12 first half turnovers against Rutgers. They turned the ball over insane rate. They went to overtime too, so you're not going to have as fresh of legs as Michigan. So I mean, Michigan Lansing's a tough place to play. I'm just hoping Big Blue can get it out.
Chaser, why do you like the Big Blue? Because obviously Luke homes a little bit on these picks, but why do you like Michigan?
Well, I really like Yaxel a lot. I think he's a really talented basketball player, and Michigan, I was kind of a little bit bullish to start really liking them this year. Hold on, my dog.
Yeah, you're good. You're good. I can hear the little yapping in the background. I'm going to let him explain his Michigan pick after he takes care of his little doggo problem. Michigan State, dude, at home, I think Jeremy Fears Jr. and Jackson Kohler have big games for the Spartans. They kind of limit Yaxel Lindenrod's capabilities on the offensive end. They are 5 points, in points against totals better than Michigan. You're got a team that turned the ball over, like you said, 12 times in the first half on the road against Rutgers, found themselves down big, double digits in the second half, was able to come back and win this game by 9. I thought it showed a little bit of resilience for this Michigan State team. I get we say they're on the ban list and yada, yada, yada. They're still 19-2, 9-1, and they're the 7th team in the AP poll. I expect the 7th team in the AP poll to get a home win against a on paper comparable opponent. So give me Michigan State on this one. Chase, now that you've got your dog and your laugh, explain why you like the Wolverines.
Well, I apologize for that, but anyways, I really, like I said, I really like Yaxel a lot. I think he's a really good basketball player. One of the probably I'd say, regardless of age, he's not going to be as high of a draft pick as some of these freshmen that we have, but I do think he is one of the top 5 best basketball players in the country. And I was kind of bullish on this Michigan team at the start of the year. I didn't know if they were going to be truly elite. But man, they have really picked it up. They played some really good basketball, and I think this is more about Michigan State. I am still not sold on this Michigan State team. Yes, they continue to win, but you see what they do against inferior opponents. They do play better against good competition, but I do think that catches up to them. And we saw what Michigan did against what I think is the best team in the Big Ten with Nebraska. So, I mean, I think Michigan gets the win here, and it's just because they're a little bit better than Michigan State.
Not a fully healthy Nebraska team, I want to add. But as we move to the Mountain West on Saturday, we have a 12 p.m. Central Time tip, which is a brutal 11 a.m. tip out there in the West. Mountain Time for the Utah State Aggies, who are hosting San Diego State, the Aztecs. Utah State 7-2 in the Mountain West, 16-3 overall. San Diego State 8-1 in the Mountain West, currently leading 14-5 overall. This is a Utah State team that can shoot the ball prolifically from 3. They are able to rebound decently on inside and play good enough defense with the home court advantage Utah State gets, especially on a game that's on CBS in Utah State. Again, bucket list place to go watch a game. I think Utah State's going to be able to get this one and take care of business against San Diego State. Y'all all agree. I'll let you speak on it briefly. Luke and then Chase, why do we like the Aggies?
If I'm being completely honest, I don't think I've seen Utah State lose a home game in at least that I've watched in a year. I swear they always win at home, and like you said, that is they have one of the best fan bases in the country. I think they'll get it done at home this week.
Chaser,
That's
why you like
that's
the Ags?
exactly my same reasoning. Utah State does not lose at home, and I don't necessarily think San Diego State plays that great away from home either. Both these teams play really well at home, but I do think Utah State gets it done just because of that home environment. Them and Grand Canyon, I think, are probably, in my opinion, the two best mid-major. I mean, outside of maybe like Gonzaga, but the two best mid-major home environments to play in. So definitely watch out for Utah State in this one.
A little bit later in the day, 1 p.m. Central Time on the CBS Sports Network, we have a huge game of the SoCon, 15-6, 7-1 in the conference. East Tennessee State, the Buccaneers are traveling to South Carolina to play the Wofford Terriers, who are 14-7, 6-2 in the SoCon. All three of y'all, including the producer, on East Tennessee State. I'm going with the home dogs, the Wofford Terriers. And my reason is solely not only because they're home, but they do have a dude, which East Tennessee State lacks. Kamari Holmes averages 19.1 a game and 5.8 rebounds. This is a Wofford team that, on average outscores ETSU by a point, but does struggle a little bit defensively. I think if you can able to limit ETSU's chances in transition and on the perimeter, Wofford's going to be able to get it done here at home in a huge SoCon matchup for the Terriers. Luke, then Chaser, why do you like the Bucks of East Tennessee State?
Yeah, I think Wofford's defense is just abysmal. They've got a bottom quarter defense in all of college basketball. They're 300th in KenPom defensive efficiencies. I think ETSU's also got a pretty solid offense, and I think it's just the defense offense is too much of a gap for Wofford to win this game.
Chaser, you like the Bucks?
I like the Bucks a lot. I mean, like I said, they're at home. They have scored the ball really well, and I'm just not as sold on Wofford as I am as this East Tennessee State team. I believe East Tennessee State can score the ball at a pretty high rate, and right now in this college basketball season, defense does matter. But at this point in the year, it's really about who can put up the most points, and so I'm going with East Tennessee State here.
Marquee matchup in the West Coast Conference, 9:30 p.m. Central Time tip on ESPN. It's the greatest rivalry in mid-major basketball. The St. Mary's Gales are heading to the Kennel to face the Gonzaga Bulldogs, who are the number 6 team in the country. 19-3, 8-1 in the conference for St. Mary's, 21-1, 9-0 in the West Coast Conference for Gonzaga. We are Gonzaga across the board. I do think this is a national championship contending Gonzaga team who will just have way too much offense for St. Mary's, who has a really good defense to be able to keep up with, though. St. Mary's not as good on the offensive side of the ball. I think this is going to be a comfortable home win. It'll be interesting to see what happens when they go to St. Mary's, but I like a 10-plus point win for the Zags against the Gales. Luke, then Chase, why do you like the Zags?
Actually, flip-flop with this game because usually when you watch St. Mary's play, their offense is like abysmal, and this is like a 50-50 game because of their defense. They actually have a pretty good offense this year. They're able to shoot the ball way better than they are in the past. I see them just barely losing because it's at the Kennel. I don't think Gonzaga loses at the Kennel 2 years in a row to St. Mary's, so that's why Gonzaga is going to pull this out.
Chaser, why do you like the Zags?
I think this Mark Few team is going to be a potential national title contender. And that being said, I don't think that any West Coast Conference team is really going to challenge them, including the St. Mary's team that I do think is improved and I do think is a talented team. And like Luke said, I mean, they can shoot the ball a lot better this year to go along with that elite defense. I mean, they have one of the best, defenses in the mid-major realm. Like we were talking about Hawaii, like St. Mary's probably is the best mid-major defense. But, this Gonzaga team is just elite on so many levels. I feel like they're starting to play really good basketball, and Mark Few he's not going to retire until he gets that national championship. You know what I mean? So I think that this is a year where it's wide open and they could finally get it done. They're so close and they're ready to get over that hump. So I think that, I'm going with the Zags here.
I think I would cry tears of joy. On noon, we finally have a Sunday game. We're talking about ABC Prime spot right after church for the Alabama Crimson Tide, 14-6, 4-3 in the SEC, 23rd team in the country in the AP poll. Heads to Gainesville to play the Florida Gators, who are 14-6 as well, but 5-2 in the SEC. We are all on the Gators. They're coming off a bad loss to Auburn. I honestly think, and granted, Alabama's loss to Tennessee was bad as well, but I just think this is a better Florida team than Alabama team, especially at home. This is a well-coached team. Thomas Howell at forward for Florida has been completely unbelievable for the Gators, and I think they're going to be able to get the job done against the G League Tide. Luke, why do you like Florida? And then Chase.
Yeah, even with them bringing in the G League center, I think the size for Florida is just way too much because we saw before he brought them in, Alabama can't rebound. They have no inside presence this year. They can't rebound. And against the Florida team, we saw Vandy, who has really no inside presence, really struggle because of Florida's size. And I think this same sort of thing is going to happen. And I don't see Florida losing back-to-back games at the Swamp.
On that note, shout out Vandy. Absolutely took belt to ass to Kentucky last night. Chase, why do you like the Gators?
I agree. Vandy absolutely performed last night. It was a big time win. Honestly, I don't love this Alabama team as much as I thought I would coming into the season. I honestly thought this was going to be a top 10 matchup when you looked at both rosters heading into the season, like with LeBaron and this and Holloway. That was supposed to be a dynamic backcourt for Alabama, and it has been good, but they just haven't been able to stop anybody or win games in the clutch. Now, if you look over at Florida, this is a team that is immensely talented. They just have to start getting wins. And I think, they have shown up in big moments throughout this SEC play, obviously losing their last game, but they're at home again. They should be able to handle Alabama. They've got too much size up front with Hawk and Condon. And I'm waiting for Boogie Flan and Xavier Lee to start really taking games over like we saw, Xavier and Lee do at Princeton and Boogie down there at Arkansas. So, we'll have to see what happens, but I think Florida gets it done in this spot.
100% I agree. As we head to our mid-major games to watch, my game's on a Friday on Fox Sports 1 as well, so you can complement your, primetime Mountain West hoops with a little more primetime Mountain West hoops. Boise State heading to Grand Canyon, who has one of the craziest first off, the university itself is weird, being mostly online and, anyway, but they have an insane student section for basketball, granted, I guess, for some of the few that actually show up to class in person. The Grand Canyon has honestly been kind of a wagon in the Mountain West, 16-3, 13-7 overall. Boise State was a team that we thought was going to be really good in the Mountain West preseason, lost to a Division II team early on. However, they've started to get their footing in 5-5 in this tough conference. I think the winner of this kind of takes a step forward into being maybe one of those sleeper contenders in the Mountain West tournament. I don't think either of these teams are going to be an at-large bid team, but again, I think the winner of this game really kind of cements themselves as like maybe that third or fourth team in the Mountain West that maybe people need to keep their eye out for. Luke, who is your mid-majors game to watch?
Mine is going to be Montana State at Portland State on Saturday. It's a first place game in the Big Sky. You got Montana State at 7-1, Portland State at 7-0. So it's going to be very interesting. Portland State definitely has a dude. They've got a guy averaging about 20 points a game, and Montana State's more spread around in the scoring. But it should be a really interesting game, fun matchup for that 15 seed.
Chaser, you're back in the Mountain West, and I couldn't agree more.
I'm kind of surprised you didn't put this one down, considering you went with the other Mountain West game. So I just, you want to go for a more obscure matchup here, but this is the best mid-major game to watch this week. You could throw Gonzaga versus St. Mary's in there, but I feel like Gonzaga doesn't really count as a mid-major anymore, considering their investment in basketball, and St. Mary's is up there in that same category. These are two true mid-major powerhouses. Utah State has obviously been great these last 2 years, and San Diego State has been a perennial 5 seed. Both these teams have been dominant in the Mountain West over the last 5 to 10 years. This is just a belter of a matchup. I expect it to be a really close game with, Utah State maybe sneaking it out at the end, but this is must-watch hoops, especially if you guys are people who just love watching college basketball. This is a perfect game to watch.
We're debuting our college basketball bracketology. This was done by me solely. I will mention that. So I'm going to open the floor after I, go through the entire thing to Luke and Chase for any questions they may have. I've been doing this for 8 years under the name Memphis Game Day, but we have finally switched to Swiss Army Sports. We are starting off in the West. Now, these are the number 1 overall seed Arizona Wildcats. I've got them playing currently the leader of the American East, which I think I would love to see yet again, 16-seeded Maryland, Baltimore County, UMBC, the Retrievers. We then go 8 Texas A&M, 9 Utah State is a very intriguing matchup I would love to see in the first round. 5 Arkansas could definitely be on upset alert against a very red-hot 12 Liberty team. 4 Virginia against 13 Hawaii, who is currently the leader in the Big West. Would love to see the Rainbow Warriors make the tournament. 6 Tennessee gets our first 4 game to talk about Ohio State versus Missouri. I think that'd be an absolute banger to watch in Dayton. The winner getting the Vols. Could be a potential conference matchup there between Missouri and Tennessee. The Cougs of Houston have fallen to the 3 seed. They would face the 14 seeded North Dakota State Bison out of the Summit League. 7 Auburn, 10 Miami, 2 Gonzaga, and 15, as we had just mentioned, Portland State. Over to the east, the number 2 overall team would be the Duke Blue Devils. They'd face 16 Wright State out of the Horizon League. 8 Georgia, 9 Iowa, 5 Alabama getting a rematch against the Ivy League champions, 12 Yale. 4 Vanderbilt against a team that Luke just mentioned about being extremely hot, 13 out of the Big South, Winthrop. 6 Clemson playing the winner of another Dayton banger, Virginia Tech and New Mexico. Would be very excited to see if that one came to fruition. 3 seeded Michigan State playing 14, another sneaky team that always seems to be a little bit on upset alert for the team they are playing. North Carolina Wilmington, the Seahawks out of the Colonial Athletic Association. 7 Kentucky after a tough loss to Vanderbilt falls to 7. 10 NC State, 2 Illinois, and then former home of the Cross family coaching tree, UT Arlington has secured their top spot in their conference so far. As we go to the 3 overall seed, the Michigan Wolverines, they would play an HBCU bowl in the first 4 between Maryland Eastern Shore and Bethune-Cookman. 8 Villanova would play 9 St. Mary's out of the West Coast Conference. 8-5 North Carolina would get the Belmont Bruins out of the Missouri Valley Conference. Be a very scary matchup there for North Carolina if that one did come true. Same for Kansas, who could draw Stephen F. Austin, who's been red hot as of late. My favorite matchup in the South region has to be number 6 Louisville against number 11 Miami. 3 Purdue, 14 East Tennessee State out of the SoCon. 7 St. Louis, who has looked absolutely unbelievable in the A-10, would face number 10 UCLA. 2 Iowa State, and 15 would be the Patriot League automatic qualifiers in the Naval Academy. And we finally have our 4th overall seed. The Yukon Huskies, number 1 in the Midwest, would play the winner of LIU Brooklyn, the Shocks out of Long Island, against Merrimack College, who would play in Dayton in the first 4. 8, the UCF Knights, who have been a solid team in the Big 12, would face number 9 Wisconsin. A Florida matchup in the Midwest, as 5 Florida would get the American Conference winner, Florida Atlantic. The BYU Cougars would face the 13-seeded winners of the Sun Belt, Troy Trojans. I'd be looking forward to that one for Troy, although that's not my favorite matchup with the 4 seeds for them. St. John's at the 6 would face 11, the current Mountain West winners, San Diego State. Another intriguing matchup would be Texas Tech against the other Balkan Wall in UT Martin. 7 SMU, 10 USC, and a sneaky one, 2 Nebraska, and 15 Lipscomb as we head to our Bubble Watch. The last 4 buys belonged to USC, North Carolina State, Miami, and UCLA being the last team in, with a bye. Last 4 in, Ohio State, Virginia Tech, New Mexico, and the last team in being Missouri. First 4 out, Texas just out looking in. Then Seton Hall has had a tough week, and then the 2 Cal teams that upset North Carolina, Stanford and California. Next 4 out really need to do some work are TCU, West Coast Conference team Santa Clara, Indiana, and George Mason. I am going to go first to this segment of the bracket. Boys, before I start, I had a question for y'all. Miami runs the table in the regular season, loses in their conference tournament in the semifinals. Let's say Akron wins it all. Is the MAC a 2-bid league? I will let Luke answer that first, then Chase.
I think if you lose one game, and
that means they lost one game. They ran the table and they lost one game in the tournament.
You should be in. Now, do I think they'll put them in? No, I think they should be in. I don't think they'll put them in though.
Okay, Chase, do you think if they run the table and lose again in like the semifinals or the finals of their conference tournament, is the MAC a 2-bid league?
It kind of depends on how far they go and how they would lose. If it's in the semifinals, I think that you probably leave them out. If they make the final and run the table all year and they make the final and lose, I think it's a 2-bid league, but it's going to be really tight. There's so many good teams this year, and their strength of schedule is not the best. So that's the only thing I can see hindering this, Miami, Ohio team. They don't really have a signature win, in in their non-conference schedule. Granted, you're undefeated. You can only beat who's on your schedule, but they haven't played anybody this year. I mean, outside of, the MAC teams, that it's like, oh wow, that's a signature win. They deserve to get in over another team like a Texas or Indiana getting a big win yesterday. So, we'll see what happens. But I think they would definitely have an argument, no question. But you don't want to leave it to chance being a mid-major.
100%. My answer to that question is I think if they make it to the semifinals, granted they run the table in the regular season, I think it will be a two-bid league. I don't think you possibly could leave a 5-1 team out of the tournament. Granted, it doesn't matter who they played. Now, so for y'all, obviously you can go to either region, any area, any questions on the bracketology about how I saw things, and then if not, we can move on.
So, do they take into account matchups before the year? Because Alabama, Yale, would they put that again even if they played in the season?
So something different between what I do now and then what I will do for my final bracketology is take into account conferences and matchups. Obviously, they would not put Yale against Alabama again in the East region. You would probably see them flip-flop with either Liberty or somewhere that, Belmont, something that could fit the region. You won't really see a matchup or a first-round conference matchup in the tournament. So that is just ranked, though. I see them as the third best 12 seed right now. So that's why it went like that.
Okay, so my question is, I see you got Texas A&M down there at 8, obviously being at the top of the SEC right now. They don't have a signature win, like I said. Do you see them moving up? I mean, because we do have some other SEC teams such as, Tennessee that are a little bit ahead of them that obviously don't have as good of a record. Do you see Texas A&M maybe towards the end of the year maybe passing up an Auburn and a Tennessee or an Alabama, like kind of in that middle of the pack SEC range? Or do you think their just schedule's been way too weak?
I think the reason why they're at 8 right now is because of the schedule being so weak, especially in the non-conference. However, I mean, let's take a look at the Aggie schedule moving forward. They have Vanderbilt, Florida, Arkansas, I mean, Kentucky, Alabama. Granted, I think if they pick up 3 of those ranked wins, yeah, you're going to see A&M start to move closer to maybe the 6th seed. Granted, if they run the table, I think their ceiling right now is probably like a 3 or a 4. But I would probably, as they're trending right now, expect them to maybe end up as a 6th seed. But this is just if the tournament ended today, or started today.
Okay, then my next question too for you. Obviously, we're looking at this bracket. Do you think Houston can? Obviously they've dropped a couple games. Do you think Houston can get back into that 1 seed range, or is it too little, too late already at this point?
I'm not going to say it's too little, too late. Obviously, with Arizona being one of the 1 seeds, you have a future matchup either in the conference tournament, or I don't know, honestly, if they play at the end of the season or not. But there's obviously some movement there with that. Duke has, it depends who they play, honestly. It depends on the night, how they look. As far as the 2 seeds go, Gonzaga definitely could be in contention for a 1. I think Illinois will kind of cool off and will actually fall to more of like a 3 or a 4. And then, UConn, again, has almost slipped a couple times. Nebraska, I think they're a damn good team, but we'll see. And Iowa State, another Big 12 team. So, I think there definitely is room for Houston to move up to a 1 seed. They would honestly, you could maybe afford one more loss in the regular season, and you'd have to win the tournament to get that 1 seed. Other than that, but there's still a lot of fluctuality. I think anywhere really from the 3 to the 1 range of who can end up being those 4 1 seeds. Other than, I think right now Arizona just kind of looks untouchable. But, again, we'll see. There's a lot of basketball left to be played.
And then my last comment, obviously, we're sitting here with Troy and BYU in that 4-13 matchup. Where do you kind of have Troy ranked among the 13 seeds? Because, obviously that's not a favorable matchup going against the potential number 1 overall pick, AJ DeBansa, and that high-powered offense over there in Utah. What do you kind of think of that?
So, and this is going to be a very humble moment for me. I've got Troy ranked as the last 13 seed right now. I think they looked pretty poor against Georgia Southern. Granted, road game, and then I think they looked pretty poor against Old Dominion. I think you have to start stringing together, at least at home, some double-digit wins here in the Sun Belt. Obviously, this is all contingent on them winning the conference tournament because that's the only way they're going to be able to get in. I do think Troy could honestly, I mean, if you see a good enough run here, move up to a 12 seed, just given how weak, teams like the American is this year. I mean, Memphis is atrocious, usually a higher seeded team in the tournament. We've got FAU right there at the 12. I mean, Belmont obviously can falter as well. I'm more impressed really with the 13 seeds so far. I mean, you're talking Hawaii, Winthrop, and Stephen F. Austin. I think are three better teams right now than Troy. Could Troy end up moving ahead of them? Absolutely. Could they move down to a 14 seed? 100%. I just don't see the Sun Belt winner being anywhere other than like that 12 to 14 range. I think it's too good of a conference in the mid majors, and honestly, other mid major conferences have been faltering a little bit too much this year to see anything outside of that window. But I think you could definitely see them getting a better 13 seed. All right, is that it, boys? I think we're good on bracketology. Moving on. And then any questions? I've got a question for you, Chase. Actually, Texas. I've got them as my last team or the first team not to make the tournament. What do you think about the Longhorns and their chances of an at-large bid in March Madness?
You want me to be brutally honest?
Oh, 100% sure.
I don't think they get in. I think after Indiana's performance last night, and I think the teams that they're kind of sitting behind right now, I don't think they're better than any of those last four in teams. I like Virginia Tech and New Mexico a lot more than I like Texas. The last four buys are way more talented. USC obviously has faltered a little bit, but they are missing some players. UCLA is still uber talented. NC State is great, and so is Miami. So they're not touching the last four buys. Last four in, I mean, Ohio State's looked solid. Like I said, New Mexico, Missouri, and Virginia Tech all look solid. I mean, Texas does have good wins on there with obviously the win over Vanderbilt and the win over Georgia, which are two big wins, but they've also lost to some pretty poor teams. The record is not phenomenal. Now, if they pick up some more wins down the stretch, I mean, it's still a talented roster. There's no question. But Sean Miller in his first year, I just, I am not completely sold on this Texas team, but we'll have to see. I think they could potentially sneak in there. But, I mean, teams like Indiana looks like they finally turned the corner, after that. Because, I mean, they were a top 25 team, went on an extremely poor run. Now it looks like they're kind of climbing that way back up. So I could see some other teams maybe entering this conversation. So Texas is going to have to pick up some wins here and pick them up real quick.
I agree. My two teams to watch for actually out looking in, I think, would be Indiana and Stanford. Stanford with that dude, I think they will be very dangerous in the ACC.
Yeah, Okuje or Okore or something like he is a dog. And
Yeah,
I agree. Stanford is a team that, I mean, if you got a guy that can drop 30 to 35 points, I mean, they'll find a way to make it interesting at least.
Oh, 100%. NBA from the past 2 days, the Rockets beat the Grizzlies at home, Hawks beat the Pacers, Hornets over the Sixers, Cavs over the Magic, Celtics over the Blazers, Lakers over the Bulls, and Wolves over the Warriors. On Tuesday, the Suns got a game that had a little bit of fight in it against the Nets, 106-102. Wizards beat the Trailblazers, Knicks over the Kings, Clippers over the Jazz, Clippers keep it rolling, Pistons over the Nuggets, Thunder over the Pelicans, and 76ers over the Bucks. We move to our power rankings. I am completely unchanged. I don't know about y'all. I just think we didn't have enough movement in these past 2 days to keep anything from OKC at 1, 2 Detroit, 3 Denver, 4 San Antonio, and 5 Toronto. Although I did flirt with putting the Clippers in. I think that's a red-hot Clippers team. Luke, what about your power rankings?
yeah. The only change I have is Detroit jumping the Thunder. The Thunder really will that Pelicans game. It was tied all the way up basically until the fourth quarter. They did not play well at all. The Pistons, they played another bottom feeder West team, I think 3 days ago. The Kings, they beat the ever living crap out of them. So I'm just jumping. The Pistons are beating teams they should right now by more. Now, granted, Thunder have some injury issues. And did y'all see the Lou Dort thing? That's another reason.
I did
That
see the
pissed
Lou
me
Dort
off.
thing.
I mean, he shoves Jeremiah Fears and then tries to choke him out. He's like a mini Draymond Green. So they're dropping the 2 for me. I think that's like your 1A, 1B right now, though, with the Pistons and the Thunder. Everything else stays the same.
Chase, what about you, brother?
I don't think either one of the top two teams in my power rankings are ultimately going to win the finals here come June. But you can't argue with what Oklahoma City did early in the season. Now they have faltered off. They don't look great right now. And Luke, I hate Lou Dort as much as the next guy. He is one of my least favorite players to. I mean, he might be my least favorite player in the NBA, and there's no question on that. He's a less talented Draymond Green-esque player. The Pistons obviously have been playing very good. They've gotten some good wins here as of late. Still don't trust that Eastern Conference. I think Boston, once they get Tatum back, because the rumor on the street is he's coming back in February after the All-Star break. That's kind of the rumor. So we'll see. But I think if this Boston team gets Tatum back, they're easily catapulted past this Pistons team as the best team in the East. The Rockets have really been playing some good basketball as of late. Nuggets have survived the storm without Jokic. I think that, once they get Jokic back, they are going to be on an absolute tear. This is a good roster. And, I think the trade kind of did work out, trading Michael Porter Jr. away to the Nets, and worked out kind of well for him because, he's averaging, 27 points per game or something ridiculous up there. And, obviously they're not competing, but still, I think the Nuggets are a really good basketball team. And then the Spurs have been faltering as of late too, but they've got Wembanyama. This is a really good roster. This is the part of the year where it kind of goes in ebbs and flows. Like, you see teams go on runs, you see teams lose. There's nobody as hot as the Raptors and Clippers right now. But like I said, I still don't trust that Eastern Conference. And one team I do want to shout out is the Lakers are 4-1 in their last 5. Luka Doncic has been going nuclear. And once they get Austin Reeves back, I do think this Lakers team is going to make a push as well. They're just too talented. But Luka is, I don't know if, I know he gets some flack for the turnovers and some foul baiting, but, the dude's averaging 34 points and almost a triple-double every night. He's averaging 34, 8, and 8. I don't know how he's not your MVP, but, we'll have to see what happens.
100%. The Lakers have finally started to get back into form, and my preseason NBA pick was for the Lakers to win it all. So I'm intrigued by how they will finish out the rest of the season. As we pivot to hockey now, the Oilers got an exciting win over the Ducks, 7-4 at home. The Lightning beat the Mammoth 2-0. Rangers get a surprising OT win against the Bruins at home, 4-3. The Islanders blanked the Flyers 4-0. And then on Tuesday, we had a much larger slate when the Bruins got the bounce back against the Predators 3-2. Canadians got an overtime win against the Golden Knights 3-2. The Sabres beat the Toronto Maple Leafs 7-4 on the road. Kings beat the Red Wings 3-1. Mammoth beat the Panthers on the road 4-3. Alexander Barkov has been skating now for the Panthers, so it'll be interesting to see when they get him healthy how the Panthers will look. The Jets beat the Devils 4-3. Stars over the Blues. Wild over the Blackhawks in a shootout. Sharks over the Canucks, and Kraken over the Capitals in a blowout in Seattle last night. Power rankings, they remained unchanged for me in this as well. I almost honestly flirted with putting the Oilers at 5. I think they've looked really good as of late and starting to get the goaltending figured out. Scoring has been absolutely prolific. But I'm Lightning, Avalanche, Hurricanes, Red Wings, Sabres, in my opinion. Luke, flipped around a little bit.
Yeah, I flipped the Lightning and the Avalanche because Lightning are, I think, 7-1-1 in their last 10, and the Avalanche are 6-4 in their last 10 or something. And it's just the Lightning are playing much, I wouldn't say much better, but they are playing better currently than the Avalanche are, even though I think the Avalanche are probably still the best team. They're playing better right now, so that's why the Lightning move up to 1 for me. But everything else is the same.
Chaser, you kept it the same, brother.
I kept it the exact same. There wasn't too much in it since the last time we did these rankings for me to really flip around these teams. Like I said, the Avalanche, even though their form has not been great, I still really like this Colorado Avalanche team, and I think they're the most prolific team in the league. Lightning, the hottest team in the league easily right now. Hurricanes, Red Wings are going to sit there 3-4. And I still got the Stars at 5. I actually did want to put the Oilers in here or the Penguins, so we'll see who kind of gets that 5 spot, but I think it's really close in there. But I could definitely put the Oilers in, and I also kind of think Vegas, if they get rolling here, could potentially grab that spot as well.
Yeah, it's really tight towards the end of these power rankings at the 5, 6, 7 spot. So we will see what happens in the next week. WWE time, the Royal Rumble. We have the Women's Royal Rumble, AJ Styles versus Gunther. The undisputed WWE Championship is on the line between Drew McIntyre and Sami Zayn, and then the Men's Royal Rumble. In terms of the Royal Rumble, our confirmed entrants are Cody Rhodes, Jey Uso, Solo Sikoa, Jacob Fatu, Rey Mysterio, Gunther, Dragon Lee, Penta, Roman, the Tribal Chief Reigns, Braun Breaker, Logan Paul, Bronson Reed, Austin Theory, Javon Evans, and Obafemi. For the women, Rhea Ripley, Io Sky, Liv Morgan, Roxanne Perez, Raquel Rodriguez, Becky Lynch, Charlotte Flair, Alexa Bliss, Asuka, Bailey, Lyra Valkyria, Nia Jax, Lash Legend, Chelsea Green, Jordan Grace, and I don't even know how to pronounce the last one, so we're just going to leave it out. We have picks for this, and starting off with our championship match between Drew McIntyre and Sami Zayn in Saudi Arabia. I'm taking Sami Zayn here. First off, if y'all didn't know this, is Islamic. We are an Islamic country. They would love to see Sami Zayn win it here, so I think he's going to get it done. This kind of sets up for this whole thing in a really weird way to end up being a heel Cody Rhodes versus a face Roman Reigns at WrestleMania for the championship. Just watch it play out. Trust me, I saw a video. He literally predicted this match happening before it even got called. He predicted Sami Zayn to win, so I'm going with Sami Zayn here. Luke, you're going with the Muslim.
Yeah, that's the only reason I'm picking Sami Zayn. I've obviously not kept up with it as much as we did in the past because of ESPN Plus wanting to just jump another.
Yeah, no, it's way too
It's just
much.
way too. It's another 150 a year, I think, which is absolutely ridiculous. I mean, so I don't. I'm not gonna watch this crap. I can't watch it because I'm not paying that. But like you said, him being Islamic, I love Drew McIntyre. I hope he wins, but Sami Zayn's gonna end up winning this match, in my opinion.
Chase, I'm excited for this analysis. Why is Drew McIntyre getting the job done in Saudi Arabia?
Because I just like him more. I can't stand Sami Zayn.
I can't either.
And that's, you're right. It's gonna be a heel turn, and for Cody Rhodes versus Roman Reigns. Like, we know they're setting it up. They're gonna give the rematch. It's gonna be, a big spectacle at WrestleMania. But I don't want it. I mean, I don't want Sami Zayn to win. That's just my personal opinion. I like Drew McIntyre a lot. I've liked him, for a little while here. So that's kind of what I went with. I don't think it'll happen. I mean, like you said, I saw the same video you did where, they're setting it up. So I just, I know which way it's going, but my heart wants to go for Drew McIntyre. So that's why I picked him.
Next up, we got AJ Styles versus Gunther. I just think this is kind of the same thing as the John Cena thing. AJ Styles on his way out. I think Gunther's just going to start pinning all of these retiring legends of the WWE and be the next legacy killer. So that's why I'm riding with Gunther here. Luke and Chase are also riding with Gunther. Luke, you can elaborate on that first, then Chase.
Yeah, I love AJ Styles. I wish they'd give him a win, but with Triple H loving Gunther, I don't think he sees him losing. The only way Gunther will lose is if AJ Styles gets him to tap out with the calf crusher, because for some reason Gunther taps out more than he gets pinned, and I think that's the only way AJ Styles will end up winning this.
Chase, you're going with Gunther, the ring general.
I think he's just the legacy killer, like you said. AJ Styles is on his way out, and I think Gunther gets it done in this one.
The Women's Royal Rumble has a lot of, it'll have a lot of surprise entrances. The Royal Rumble is just a good event. I will actually be paying to watch this one at noon. I have to. It's basically tradition. I've got Liv Morgan. It just makes too much sense here. She, has joined in this little, Judgment Day faction. I think this is going to kind of propel a solo run that we needed in this past year. I mean, she is absolutely just a rocket out there in the ring, and she's very, visually appealing to the eye, and that's why I'm picking Liv Morgan. Chase, I'll let you elaborate next, because you're also on Liv Morgan.
This is completely based off looks. Like, I actually do. I will be the first to tell you I'm not the biggest WWE fan. I keep up with it and obviously enjoy it, but obviously know who Liv Morgan is, and we're just gonna go. If it was a looks contest, we would be going with her anyways. So, I'm gonna roll with that pick.
Luke, I like you had something different here. Roxanne Perez. Tell me why.
Because I mean, Triple H loves Roxanne Perez back to her NXT days, and last year in the Rumble, she absolutely showed out. She was like the longest first time entry or something, and I don't know what's going on in WWE, but if they're gonna push someone who's young, and I don't think Liv Morgan will come in second like she always does, and someone else will win. And I think that this year it's gonna be Roxanne Perez.
All right, finally, we have the Men's Royal Rumble. I have heard all sorts of things about this Royal Rumble being in Saudi Arabia, that they are going to pull out literally every single legend that will sign a contract for a day to come out in this. We all know who's winning it. It is my favorite superstar in the WWE, the Tribal Chief, Roman Reigns. He will be ascending back to the top at WrestleMania as he defeats Cody Rhodes for the belt, and I hope we get another 4-year, just arduous, just tribal chief title run. So I'm picking my boy Roman Reigns. Chase, you're with me. You got the tribal chief.
I think, like you said, they're setting it up. I love Roman Reigns. I love the tribal chief, so I think he gets it done here.
Luke, Braun Breaker. That's a hell of a pick. I can't hate it. Why does Braun get it done?
I think they will end up going to the Cody Roman thing. I just don't think it's going to be as cut and dry as we've seen, because especially with Triple H booking all these pay-per-views, weird shit happens. I mean, like a few years ago, Money in the Bank, we all thought LA Knight was going to win. Damian Priest, like the last guy you thought would win, ended up winning. So I think they're going to kind of go a different direction in the Rumble, and I think Braun Breaker, a rising superstar, he's a Paul Heyman guy. He's going to end up getting this one.
UFC 325 is on that same day, which is so electric. Later in the afternoon, we have an elite main card starting off with the Aussie battle between Quillen Salkid and Jamie Malarkey. I am going with Salkid here. Salkid here. That's a hell of a last name, by the way. He is 10-1. He has 4 wins by knockout, 3 by sub, and 5 first-round finishes. Malarkey has been knocked out in the first round 2 of his last 3 matches. So I just see Salkil getting this pay-per-view. Started off with a bang and a first-round knockout for the Aussie kid against his fellow countryman. Chase, you agree? You got Salkil here.
100%. He is a huge betting favorite in this one. Obviously, like you said, 10-1, lots of first-round knockouts. And like you said, Malarkey's been knocked out 2 out of the last 3 bouts in the first round. So that's why I'm going with Salkil in this one.
Luke, you got Malarkey.
Yeah,
It's a bunch of Malarkey.
my UFC page was not working for this like matchup, so I had no idea. I've never heard of either of these guys. I literally flipped a coin and I got Malarkey. So like I couldn't pull up any stats. I couldn't look at their thing, and I'm like, screw this. I'm flipping a coin, and yeah, I'm going with Malarkey.
You got to bet on him now. He's a huge underdog. So if it hits, it hits, and then you're rolling in some dough. We've got a nice heavyweight matchup coming up next. Tai Tuivasa out of Australia is facing the Brazilian Tauson Teixeira. 8-1 for Teixeira, 15-8 for Tuivasa, both coming off a loss. Teixeira's got a 5-inch height advantage and an 8-inch reach advantage. Tai Tuivasa, I fade him nearly every time I see him on a card. Betting-wise, I will be doing it again. I think Teixeira gets a knockout in the second round. He's going to just gas him out in the first. Going to be kind of something, I think, similar to the Derek Lewis fight with Tauson Teixeira getting back on the winning side of things and improving the 9-1. We're all Teixeira here. Luke and Chase, give me a quick reason why Tauson's getting it done against Tuivasa.
A significant strikes. Teixeira lands 12.8 strikes. Sorry, per contest, and Tai Tassavera lands only 3.7. So I think the strikes is going to be a huge reason why he's going to end up getting the win.
I think Teixeira is young and is going to be an up and coming player in this division. Like you said, he does have a lot of significant strikes per minute, and like I said, I think this guy is young, he's hungry, and coming off a loss, you usually, if they're going to be a great, I'd assume he would be, they usually follow it up with a confident, dominating performance in their next fight. So that's why I'm going to Teixeira here.
Next up, we got the number 9 lightweight Rafael Fiziev fighting the number 14 lightweight Mauricio Rufy. Rufy just pulled out of the Fighting Nerds camp, so that is why I'm taking Rafael Fiziev here. But not only that, Fiziev just a better striker and is able to take it to the ground if needed. I do not think this is going to be a finish in this 3-round fight. I think Fiziev wins it by unanimous decision. I'll even go ahead and say I think it's Fiziev 3-0, but I just don't think Rufy's going to get finished. Luke, you're with me. You like Fiziev.
Yeah, and like you said, I picked him because he's more on the significant strikes, and he can take it to the ground. To where if he wants to take it to the ground, I think Ruffy kind of doesn't want to be on the ground. He doesn't shoot for takedowns, so if he gets him down there, he'll probably be a little uncomfortable. So I've got Fiaz. I'm not. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
you're
you.
good, brother. Chase, you're saying screw us. You're going with the Brazilian Mauricio Rufy. You're muted, brother. Chase.
My fault, I was muted. Well, Rufy has the age advantage, height advantage, and the reach advantage. So I do think that definitely plays a factor in these fights. And he does have a 92% finishing rate compared to Faziev's 69%. So I do think that Rufy gets it done just based off of former stats, but I do think it'll be a close fight.
Co-main event is absolutely going to be a banger in terms of how bad Benoit Saint Denis is going to beat the shit out of Dan Hooker. We have Dan Hooker, the number 6 lightweight in the world, against Benoit Saint Denis, who's number 8. We are all on Benoit Saint Denis, who's 16-3 with 1 no contest. Hooker 24-13. Benoit coming off a win. Hooker off a loss. I actually have this one going to Benoit Saint Denis by submission. I think it's going to start on the feet. Benoit Saint Denis will take it to the ground and choke him out in the second round. Actually, we'll go third. Benoit Saint Denis by sub in the third. Why do y'all like Saint Denis, Luke, and then Chase?
Same reason you do. I think he's going to dominate him on the ground. He wins by submission 69% of the time. So I'm assuming he's going to win by decision. And he's never won a UFC fight. He's never won a UFC fight by decision. He's won 69% of the time by submission. Sorry. So I see him taking this ground, and Hooker does not want to be on the ground. So I got him winning this fight.
I agree. I think this is just a bad matchup for Hooker. He obviously doesn't perform as well on the ground as Denis does. So, I think he's going to take him to the ground a lot during this fight, and I do think he'll get that submission. I'm saying fourth round. I'm going to say third round.
Finally, we have our main event. It is for the featherweight title. It is our boy Volk's last fight ever, win or lose. He will be doing it in a rematch against number 2 featherweight Diego Lopez. Y'all both are on Volk to end it on a high note. I am saying absolutely not so fast. Diego Lopez is young, and he is a demon, 27-7. He has a 5-inch height advantage. He has a 1-inch reach and 5 inches on the leg. I think he was way too passive in his last fight to get started off against Volkanovski. Kind of was a little bit timid of the moment. He got outstruck by like 100 significant strikes, but he had the only knockdown. And I think that's important to take into effect here, that he was able to withhold all those strikes from Volkanovski, get taken to the ground, still did not get knocked down or have a submission attempt against him. I think Lopez will come out straight firing against Volkanovski and win this one in a unanimous decision for the championship and take it away from Volk. Luke, you like Volk, so does Chase. Start us off. Why do you like Alexander?
I don't think he's going to lose in his home country. It's your last fight ever. He does strike by the stats. He does strike way better than Lopez does. I know the age is a huge difference. I just don't see him losing in his final fight in his home country. And I think that he'll just end up beating Lopez.
Chase, why do you like Alexander?
I agree. This is one of the legends of UFC, Volkanovski. I just don't see him losing at home in his final fight. This is his goodbye to the UFC, goodbye to fighting. So I think he's going to come out on fire, and I do think he'll get the win against Lopez again.
Next up, we got the Farmers Insurance Open, another tournament coming our way in the PGA Tour, second tournament of the year. I'm going to go with plus 2,000 to win, Cameron Young. Cameron Young has been an absolute elite golfer, especially last year when he had one win and 12 top 25s. I just think he is kind of due for a win early in the year. I think he's been a great golfer, and he's going to get his year started off well. Cam Young. Luke, I love your pick as well as I do Chase, but I hate Chase's golfer, though. But I like his pick.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Sahith Theegala. Love Sahith. He played pretty well last week. And now I was looking at ESPN. Is Scotty, are none of the big guys playing in this?
No.
Okay.
Well, I mean, Brooks Koepka is playing in his
I know.
PGA Tour, but I'm surprised none of y'all picked Brooksy. But
No, that'd be a fun little sprinkle, though, because you honestly don't know how Brooks is going to come out and play since the adjustment going from the 3 round to the 4 and all that stuff. I'll probably sprinkle something on top 10, but I think Sahith has a pretty good chance to win this. None of the big guys playing this week. So,
Chase, you like a slow play?
I don't like Cantlay at all, but I think he's just due. He hasn't won in a while. with a lot of top 20, top 10 finishes. And I think this course kind of does fit his game a little bit. He always does well on West Coast courses. And, I think just the fact that he is still a bigger name in this event, even missing, because you're missing all the big names. So I think he has a good chance of getting it done this week.
Yeah, I honestly, some people hate it when all the big names don't play. I like it. It's a pretty open field. It'll be a pretty exciting tournament to see who gets it done and gets into the playoffs. EPL Match Week 24 coming our way. I'm pretty stoked for it, especially coming off the absolute banger of a Champions League Wednesday we just had today with 18 games going simultaneously. First off, we have Brighton and Hove Albion hosting Everton. I am going with Brighton here. I think they are just kind of due for a home win. Also, Everton has not impressed me at all as of late. Brighton in decent form. I look for them to get a 1-0 victory over Everton here. Chase, you like a draw?
I do like a draw on this one. Honestly, Brighton has had Everton's number over the last 5, but I do think that, there's just not a lot in this game. I think both teams they're both solid. They're fringe top 10 teams. I could see it being actually a really good game, but I do predict it to be 2-2.
And Luke has Everton. We have Leeds United hosting Arsenal. We are all on Arsenal. This is an Arsenal team that has kind of struggled a little bit defensively as of late, and I think it's going to be a tighter game as more people think. I'm going 2-1 Arsenal here, letting up a goal mid-second half to kind of make it interesting at 1-1 and closing it out at the end. Chase, what do you think about Arsenal in this matchup?
I think Arsenal has been on a pretty poor run of form in the Premier League. They can't seem to break down the low block. They did just win 3-2 in the Champions League versus Kairat Almaty, who's not one of the better sides, to say the least. They have been rotating their squad, and they should be fine for this game. I do think they'll beat Leeds, but they've got to figure it out because, I just know the morale in the dressing room is starting to go downhill with them only being 4 points up on Man City in the title race. So the rumors of them bottling it might start coming true, and I just think this is going to be a tough test for them because Leeds has actually played really well and they will defend well, and they're going to make it difficult for Arsenal.
Luke has Arsenal as well. We have Wolverhampton hosting AFC Bournemouth. Luke is on the Wolves. Chase, you like a draw in this matchup?
I do. I think obviously Bournemouth getting a big win against Liverpool last week. However, Wolves has played it better as of late. Bournemouth has, they're not anything impressive, especially now that they've lost Semenyo. They're a little bit injury ridden. I do think that this Wolves team will make it interesting, and this is one of the surprises of the week because everybody would probably anticipate Bournemouth coming off that Liverpool win to win, but I think they're going to get a draw versus Wolves.
I have this going 1-0 for Bournemouth. I think they're in great form, especially with that win over Liverpool, and it's a very poor Wolves side this season in the Prem. Up next, we have Chelsea hosting West Ham United. Luke is on West Ham. I'm going with Chelsea here. I just don't think this is a very talented West Ham team at all, especially at home. Chelsea has won 4 of their last 5. They got a 3-2 win over Napoli to knock Napoli out of the Champions League today. Give me the Chelsea Football Club at home. Chase, you were going with a draw.
Well, I'm kind of doing this because Luke did really well with his West Ham pick last week, kind of out of nowhere. I know he's following it up again this week. So the reason I went with the draw here is Chelsea they are playing a ton of fixtures right now. They had to step up for a big performance tonight in the Champions League. They're going to have to use the same players again. They're going to have to turn around, play again I think this game's on Saturday. So it's just the scheduling is just going to start mattering at some point. Playing when you play week by week, you can kind of get a little bit of rest. They're not getting any rest. It's going to be, I think they'll be tired through the first 30 minutes of this game, maybe a little sluggish, and I do think West Ham jumps on them. And I do think that Chelsea's got enough quality where they can, get back in the game, but I do see a draw in this one.
Newcastle paying visit to Anfield playing Liverpool. Chase is on Newcastle. I'm on Liverpool. Luke is on a draw. I just think this is a Liverpool side that after a 6-0 win was able to kind of rest some legs today in the Champions League and is going to get back on the right side of things in the Prem with a win over Newcastle, who also played today. Chase, why do you like Newcastle?
Obviously didn't. I made this pick before I watched them absolutely dominate in the Champions League today. The vibe around Liverpool this season has been very negative, especially in the Premier League. Their fans have kind of turned against the manager Arne Slot, and it's been very difficult for them in the Prem. I really wanted to go for a draw here, but I do think Newcastle is good enough to maybe pull a victory against Liverpool. But I think it'll be close, but Liverpool's defense has been shocking. I think it could be another high-scoring game, maybe 3-2, 2-1. We'll see what happens.
We all have Aston Villa at home against Brentford. I want to talk about our next matchup. Man United has been red hot in the Prem, red hot in every football that they've been playing. They got Fulham Football Club, who's also honestly been in good form at 8 a.m. Central Time Sunday. I've got Fulham pulling out a draw here. I mean, they have won 3 of their last 5, drawn 1, lost to Leeds. They drew with Liverpool. They beat Chelsea. They beat Brighton. I think Man United they don't fall off the map here. They're not going to lose. But I think they kind of come back to earth here with a draw against Fulham, a team that they should get 3 points from. Chase, why did the Red Devils get it done?
Well, if you want me to be completely honest, I completely see draw written all over this game. If you know Manchester United, you know they turn up for the big games, and then they come back down to earth. However, I got a home here. I told myself, like, it's a new manager, got to have a new attitude, so we're obviously going to see. I wanted to pick draw so bad because Fulham has played great over the last couple of weeks, getting themselves into the top 10, top half of the table. But the reason I'll tell you why United's going to win, this is a very talented United team that is finally playing the way that they should be playing all season. They just now the big test. This game I think was a bigger test than it was for Man City and for Arsenal. Like, this is going to be the biggest test for United because they've been able over the last couple of years to pull a shock upset against one of the big 6 clubs. But now they're going to have to do it against this team that'll sit back and let them have majority of the ball. We'll see what United can do, but I see a draw written all over this game. But I'm homing, and I'm going to go with Manchester United.
Well, I'm homing in the next one. Spurs, Tottenham Hotspur hosts Man City. Luke and Chase both on Man City. I am on the Spurs. I am strictly on the Spurs because that is my Prem team. They looked good against Eintracht Frankfurt today, 2-0. They did draw last time out in the Prem against Burnley. I also hate Man City, so I'm going to go with Tottenham Hotspur here, getting a 1-0 shocker in London. Chase, you've got Man City.
I love that pick. Honestly, any other year I would pick Spurs in this matchup too because Spurs actually give Man City the most trouble out of any other club in the Premier League. I think they've won 4 out of the last 5 or 3 out of the last 5 games against Man City they've won and picked up points against them in 4 out of the last 5. I think that's what it was. Man City obviously got a win today and won at the weekend. They have been looking better after that poor stretch of form, but I do think this game is very tough for them. Spurs play Man City very well. However, the reason I'm picking Man City is I cannot have Arsenal win the Premier League. Their fans are some of the worst fans across any sport. I mean, think about it. I know you guys aren't as invested into it, but think about some of the worst fan bases that you've ever been around, like Eagles, those type of fans. That's Arsenal for the Premier League, and they have never won anything really significant. And they're looking like they're going to win a lot this season. So I'm just praying on their downfall. Even though I hate Man City, I would just love them to win it a lot more than Arsenal.
Me and Chase are on Nottingham Forest as they host Crystal Palace, who's in absolutely atrocious form. Luke has a draw. Same thing goes for our Monday Night Football matchup. Sunderland, me and Chase are on them against a tough season for Burnley. Luke on a draw for both of those as well. Hot and Not is how we end our weekday episode, and I'm going to start it off, man. Hot is the Galazzo show. Chase put me on this podcast to this show. There was 18 games going on, strung a couple of parlays that were a couple legs away from hitting, but they were also like 18 legs, so we were going for some generational wealth today in the soccer world. But what was amazing was seeing Benfica out of Portugal need a goal to go into the knockout stage of the Champions League and get it with a goalie on a header to end the show. This Micah guy is absolutely electric for CBS Sports. I've actually become a slight fan of the Golazo show. The my not are the rules of sledding. So we have this easement that we've talked about down the street that we have gone sledding on. You know, it's the South. We don't get much snow, so we're going to take advantage of the opportunities we can get. I had gone down and I completely got destroyed by this kid who just, usually you're supposed to bail when you're about to run into somebody when you're sledding. All he had to say was, "Oh, watch out," as he took my arm off. Got a couple, I've got a nice little black bruise on my elbow. Got hyperextended, super tight. It's really affecting my darts game, which is what's pissing me off. But yeah, that's my knot. Luke, what's your hot knot?
I want to add a little bit to your knot because we also have kids that want to walk up the center of the freaking hill. And you can't go down when you're walking up the hill because you don't want to be the 20-plus-year-old that takes out a 7-year-old. Learn etiquette. All right. Anyways, my hot is going to be the snow. I'm definitely not going to work tomorrow. I do not want to risk my truck trying to get out of this neighborhood since I have to go all uphill. So I'm just not doing that. Even though the roads are better, I just really don't want to do it. And
It's freezing again tonight.
I know I'm not going. So that is my hot. I've also been.
And then it's Friday, and so you obviously shouldn't go then
not.
either. So
I'm probably not. But no, I've been able to just sit back, watch some movies, while play some Minecraft, read my book. It's been a good little week. I haven't had to go to work, so no money next week. I'll be pissed at myself, but I really don't care. I don't have very many bills. And then my knot. So last night we're eating dinner, and I wanted to put some shredded cheese on my dinner. We buy blocks of cheese, which is fine, but like I get the grater out and I'm trying to grate it, and the thing's supposed to suction to the counter, and it's not suctioning to the counter. Romo proceeds to come in there, scream at me about how much of an idiot I am, and then he can't get it to work. So then he just is screaming at me for no reason. So I'm just getting pissed off because the rule was because I literally told them when this started to happen, I'm like, I'm literally going to go buy my own shredded cheese because it pisses me off when I come home from class or work and I have to get the fucking cheese grater out and grate a crap ton of cheese. And it wasn't great. It was pissing me off. Romo was pissing me off. I was just in a bad mood last night because of it. I need cheese. It's like it's the food I eat all the time. I need it, but so that is my dot.
Chase, you're hot knot.
Well, first off, I want to say that is a elite hot, Will. The Golasso show is we've actually been
Same to you, dude. Elite hot.
No, we've been watching this Golasso show for a minute though, and for like the last 3 or 4 years. And Micah Richards is one of the most electric announcers I think in all of sports. He's a former player for actually Man City, but he is hilarious. Anyways, back to my hot. I love this new slide design that Will's got going on right now. When you guys see the slides, it is phenomenal. It looks great. I want to give a real big hand to my brother because it looks really good. Slides look great and electric. And
Much
then
appreciated.
my nod is just the schedule that kind of I'm going to have to go on over the next 2 weeks. So a little bit about my family. My family are big Disney adults. Not me, my dad, and my mom are. So we're going out to California this week to run a race at Disneyland. So got to go across country and 2 time zones, all that stuff. Turn around. I've got work Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Turn right out around after work, and I'm going down to Troy to see Troy play 2 basketball games. So it is going to be a brutal next 2 weeks for me, traveling wise, and so I'm gonna be a little jet lagged, but we're gonna make it through.
100%. Hey, maybe I'll come down to Troy with you and we'll catch some hoops. That'll do it for episode 39 of Swiss Army Sports. Please join us on Monday when we recap the weekend's events. Forgot to mention the Women Mountain Darts Masters are this weekend as well, Friday and Saturday. I'll recap that slightly on our episode on Monday. Until then, have a good night.